News Radio 700 WLW.
Now look at the weather for this weekend and into next week. It's 88 today, 90 tomorrow, 93 Monday, 95 Tuesday, 90s all through the rest of the week. And as you well know, it has been hot as you know what for most of the month of June. And here now we are in July, and it is not letting up. And if you have not already gotten an electric bill yet from June, be prepared for a shock. It's kind of like where we were in the wintertime with the price of heating oil going up and what that was like. And natural gas and all that. It's just anything that is driven by fossil fuel right now or generated by an electrical grid is just, it's going to cost you more money. It's where this country is right now with energy. So what can you do? Well, you can turn your thermostat down. I don't know. Maybe you can wear looser clothing. I mean, there's got to be something that is a little more intricate than just the normal things we think about. Standing by is somebody who thinks about this a lot. He is the CEO, I think that means Chief Executive Officer, at Live Energy, Inc., an energy broker and consultant who helps buy and manage electricity and natural gas. He is St. Clair Newbern IV. St. Clair, how are you on this glorious day?
I'm very hot, but doing all right.
St. Clair Newbern IV. That sounds like English royalty. Are you English royalty?
Not exact. I'm Texas royalty. And, they started calling me Bubba when I was still in the hospital because they thought that St. Clair was too fancy of a name for a Texas baby. And luckily, I dropped it in my 20s, and I'm now officially St. Clair. Trying to wear it well.
Having lived in Oklahoma for 5 years, I get the feeling that in where you live, everybody's called Bubba. Is everybody called Bubba just by default?
Well, everybody's got a Bubba in their family. It's just a matter of, how many.
How many Bubbas you got? Well, I got 10 Bubbas. Right. Oh, I only got 4. Well, you need more Bubbas. All right, let's talk about this. It's hot all over the country. It was oppressively hot, and, you go on your app on your phone, and it not only tells you the temperature, it tells you feels like. And we had temperatures here back in June where they were in the mid to upper 90s, and the feels like was up around 120, 125. Regardless of what energy costs on any given year, when it gets that hot, you just have to expect it's going to cost you more money, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. There's two ways to control energy costs. One is the price you pay for it, and one is how much you use. And right now, people are getting hit with a double whammy. It's really hot, really dry, so they're using more, and the prices are going up. Natural gas, which, like in Ohio, natural gas is the primary source of generation, primary fuel source for generation, and we've seen prices explode like 200% over last year. They've come back down in the past week, but people are having to use more energy, and it's more expensive.
Yeah, and everybody, if they don't, they either have some kind of, affinity for heat or feeling hot. Everybody's running their air conditioner right now, and it's probably running 24/7. And that, there you go. I mean, that's just going to generate so much more money on your bill. So you said 200%. I mean, year to year, let's just take year to year, typical house in this country, other than the places that are the extreme, like Hawaii or Alaska or someplace like that. I mean, what are we talking about in terms of an energy bill that's up from year to year? How much percent would it be?
So it depends on when your contract expires, but just to give you an example, I just renewed my mother at her home, and she was paying 8 cents, and she went to 15 cents on a new contract. So about a double, almost 100% increase.
So if
businesses and residential.
Yeah, so almost double. So if your June bill last year was $150, do not be surprised if your June bill this year is $300.
Now, in Ohio, you have the ability to lock in a contract. So people may very well be locked in until next year. Mm-hmm. Businesses may be locked in for a couple of years, and so they may not see a major increase this summer. But the important thing to know there is what you don't want to do is if you're a residential consumer, you don't want your contract to expire and roll on to a market-based rate that could be really high. You want to get ahead of it and renew your contract as early as possible. And then the same thing for businesses. They need to really take a look, because if you've got a contract that expires next year, you can get ahead of it and lock in lower prices than you'll likely see if you wait until your contract expires. So there are things you can do in a deregulated market like Ohio to protect yourself. And then if you want, we can talk about some of the other things that people can do operationally to save on consumption.
Absolutely, but I don't want to leave the contract aspect yet. So you're right, it depends on when your contract is up, but you're saying the earlier you lock in, the better. Is that because you envision this only getting more expensive as we go along here?
So the dominant trend for many years has been that the most expensive power is in the next 12 months. And then as you look beyond 12 months, it gets cheaper and cheaper into the future. So if you're a business, for example, you could look at, and you had to buy energy today, the most expensive contract would be a 12-month contract versus say a 5-year contract would be cheaper because you're averaging it down by buying those, 2023, 4, 5, 6. That pulls the price down. So whether you're a residential or business consumer, the main thing is to pay attention to when your contract expires, to start checking prices well in advance. So for a business, that means start shopping 18 months before your contract expires. For a residential consumer, start shopping 3 to 6 months before your contract expires, and you'll do better than waiting till the end.
And if your contract is up in a month, you're kind of SOL right now, right?
Yeah, you're kind of, in a pickle. So there, we see people that are expiring now, and most of them are saying, okay, well, let's just lock it in long term because at least we can lower it compared to a 12 month. The 12 months is what's really, really expensive. But if you're willing to go longer term, then you can mitigate some of that.
Okay. So now let's talk practicality in the here now, because that's what a lot of people are concerned about. It's hot. It's July 4th weekend. There may be some outside activities, but eventually you get so damn hot you want to come inside. What can you do? I mean, the old adage was keep your thermostat at 70 whatever and leave it there consistently, and that's probably the best thing for you year-round. That sounds simplistic. There's got to be something better than that.
Okay, so the thing that's better than that is actually having a controllable thermostat. And you can get a good one for probably $100. And if you use a controllable thermostat, that often saves people 20%, maybe even 30% on their consumption just by putting it on a program and bumping the temperature up to a level that, where you're comfortable, but you're not overdoing it. So that's the one thing that, everybody can do and is worth doing if you haven't done it. And then there's some other things that are even easier, which is to close up the cracks on your doors and windows, replace weather stripping so you have a good seal. Basically, you want to make sure that you're keeping the cold air in. Close your shades and shutters to keep the heat out. If you have incandescent bulbs throughout your house, it may be time to go ahead and replace those with LEDs. And, those are all things that you can do this weekend. You can do those quickly. And a lot of people, they just don't think about, I haven't checked to make sure. Like, we went and looked at our front door, and I could easily slide a piece of paper under it, so we knew that there wasn't a good seal. We replaced the weather stripping. That's an easy one, and people often overlook the fact that they've got the cold air seeping out. Closing the shutters and shades, that's another easy one.
Sure.
Light bulbs will save you, an LED light bulb can save you 80% over an incandescent bulb, and it removes the heat source. So those are the easy things.
Give me the adjustable thermostating. Now, are you saying if you got, I got one of those things that I'm scared to death of it. It's a Nest, and I swear the thing thinks for me. But what do I want to do with that? I mean, if it's adjustable, you put it like at a certain temperature during the day and then another temperature at night. You just adjust it. You make sure you do it right before you go to bed, or what are you talking about?
Yeah. So you can set up a schedule, and so it's automatically turning on and off to maintain a particular temperature that you're comfortable with. And the other thing that you can do with that, if you're on any sort of time of use based electricity contract, there will be certain contracts that will say, hey, we'll give you free nights and weekends, or give you a better price at certain times of the day. So if you're on a contract like that, you would want to use energy more liberally during those times when it's cheap or free. So the whole idea is that you just put some thought into it rather than having people go through, oh, I'm hot, I'm going to crank it down. I've got kids that'll go and they're not allowed to touch it anymore. My wife's got complete control over it. And if we leave and she forgets that she didn't turn it off, she'll jump on her phone and she'll turn it way up so that we're not wasting energy when we're not there.
Yeah. Okay. All right. That makes sense. Yeah, you can control those things from your phone. Let me ask you a broader question here. I keep hearing, and a lot of it could be fear-mongering, I don't know, and I'm not asking you to speak for your entire industry, but I keep hearing that we're going to be experiencing in this country brownouts and in some cases blackouts this summer. Is that a real possibility in your opinion?
It is a possibility. I don't think there's a high degree of risk right now. And I say that because we had such a huge meltdown in Texas in 2021, February 2021, Winter Storm Uri, where, we were without electricity in a lot of parts of the state for 5 days. And so I think a lot of the grid operators really took notice of that and are trying to be as conservative as possible. And so that was definitely a wake-up call, because what we had there was, depending on who you ask, a 30 to 100-year event. And so grid operators throughout the country have really gotten engaged, and they want to make sure that they don't have the next situation like that. So I'm not terribly worried about it. I would say that, on any given summer or winter, we're going to have some outages. That's normal. I don't see there being a big wave of blackouts throughout the country.
All right. Well, I like your idea about the light bulbs and the weather stripping and the adjustable thermostat. I got to start figuring out how that works. Maybe I'll ask my kids. Maybe they can figure it out. But there's no question it's going to be more expensive this summer than what it was last summer. And it's always good to get somebody on here that knows about energy, knows about what to do. And St. Clair Newbern IV, you're saying if you can renew that contract as far out as possible, it's always better than waiting until a week or two before. That's what you're saying.
That's right. And sometimes, it's a matter of just starting to track it. That's one of the things that we do for people is we at least give them alerts. They know where the market is. Because we've seen 100% fluctuation in prices in the past 12 months. And so if you're not paying attention, then you may miss an opportunity when prices dip. So the main thing is to pay attention to when your contract expires, know what your rate is, start shopping early, and look for an opportunity to lock in when prices are favorable.
And people can find you, St. Clair, at liveenergy.com. That's where they can find you, liveenergy.com.
Yep.
He is the CEO, and you can call him up or drop him an email and just say, Bubba, what's up? You'd be all right with that.
That's right.
All right, St. Clair.
We work with lots in Ohio and happy to help anybody we can.
All right. Stay well, stay cool. We'll talk down the road. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.